By the starlit mere of Cuivienen, water of awakening, the elves rose from the sleep of Iluvatar, and while they dwelt silent yet by Cuivienen, their eyes beheld first of all things the stars of heaven, and therefore they have ever loved the starlight. This quote from the Silmarillion shows the importance of the stars in Tolkien's writings. They give hope to heroes in the bleakest of places and may portend the dooms of the gods themselves. The Lord of the Rings Online is one of the most faithful adaptations of Tolkien's world, and their version of the night sky is clearly inspired by its description in the Silmarillion. Before we can explore it, however, we will go back to a time before the stars, at the birth of the world. The stars were created by Varda, the god or Valar associated with light, loved by the elves and feared by the evil Valar Melkor. Even invoking her name may deter evil spirits. The stars were made in the earliest days, before the awakening of the firstborn, the elves. The first stars were distant and faint, and to help guide the firstborn when they awoke, Varda created new brighter stars from the dew of Telperion, the white tree that would eventually bear the moon itself as a fruit on its limbs. The tree shed silver light, and Varda created with this light the constellations in the night sky and many of the most recognizable stars. These would forever shine in the sky, and so the world would never be left in true darkness. Tolkien wrote his legendarium as an alternative history of Europe, and more specifically England. Therefore, the stars created by Varda can be found in our own night sky, albeit under different names. At the creation of the bright new stars, 10 of them are actually named. These are Alcaringe, Borgil, Carnil, Elemire, Halloween, Luinil, Lumbar, Morwinjon, Nenar, and Til. Most of these stars we know as planets in the night sky, and they appear as some of the brightest objects. Ages later, these stars would be joined by another one, the star of Erendil. This was not really a star, but a shining jewel called a Silmaril, and it was carried by the mariner Erendil on his ship Vingilot, which sails through the heavens. In addition to the individually named stars, signs were created by Varda to set into the sky. She created the Anarima, the sun border, Menalmakar, the swordsman of the sky, Remirath, the netted stars, Soronume, the eagle of the west, Telumendil, the lover of the heavens, the Valasirka, the sickle of the Valar, and Vilvarin, the butterfly. We will go over some of the symbolism behind these signs later in the video, but many of them have been identified with real-life counterparts. Now that we have covered the night sky as it appears in Tolkien's works, we can have a look at how The Lord of the Rings Online has adapted this night sky. I think most players will have noticed the vibrance of the night sky while they were questing. And some of these constellations appear in the game's sky as bright blue star signs, signifying their greater luminance compared to the other stars. They also stay still while the other star textures twirl around them, making them easier to see. Let's have a look at them. The one most people will recognize immediately is the Vala Sirca, the sickle of the Valar. This constellation was placed in the north to challenge the evil Melkor hiding in his fortress. It is also known as the Burning Briar by the hobbits, and it's mentioned as the Wain or the Sickle in the Fellowship of the Ring. We know it as Ursa Major, and its brightest stars create a pan-like shape in the sky, which is often called the Big Dipper or the Plough. Another constellation clearly visible in the sky is the Remirath, or the Netted Stars. This constellation with its 7 bright stars is known as the Seven Sisters, or the Pleiades, and it is associated with the autumn rain. This constellation is also mentioned in the Fellowship of the Ring, as it stands in the eastern sky while the hobbits camp with Gildor's elves near Woodhall in the Shire. The third visible constellation is Menel Magar, or the Swordsman of the Sky. This constellation was rising in the sky when the elves awoke at the lake of Cuivianen, and it heralds the last battle, the Dagor Dagorath, in which the world will be created anew. This constellation is also present during the feast at Gildor's camp, and the elves burst into song when they see it rise just behind the Remirath. As for the individual stars mentioned in the Silmarillion, I could not detect any in the night sky that looked visually different from the others. I have created time lapses to look for objects that move differently compared to the other stars, but I could not really find anything. An experienced stargazer might be able to locate the stars inside the twirling textures used for the sky, but I would not know where to find them. They have some real-life counterparts, so maybe someone can figure out where we can find these stars in the textures. I would like to thank everyone watching this video. This is definitely the most difficult video I've made so far, as it required me to find some new functions inside Adobe Premiere. I also had to use some Adobe After Effects, which I really never had done before, so that was interesting to learn. I hope it was worth the slightly longer waiting time, and feel free to share it with anyone who might find it interesting, as it was quite a lot of work. Thanks to all the people who've been subscribing lately, and I will see you all again soon. If you're interested, I will also be uploading a video with just time lapses of the night sky of LOTRO, if you just want to watch the stars passing by.